Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today we're looking at the camera I'm going to be shooting next week, hopefully if it's working okay. And as you can see, it is a Topcon Unirex. Bit of an unusual camera in that it has a leaf shutter. It does not have a focal plane shutter. Let me take it out of the case. These were made between the late 60s, say 68, 69 through to 73. And we'll give you a quick overview of the camera. Here we have the top plate. So we've got the lever advance for our film. We've got a film counter window, shutter release, cold shoe on the top. And this camera has a choice of two metering modes. You can have a spot metering or you can have average metering. And the spot metering, well, this one says 68, so I'm assuming it's one of the early ones. And film rewind crank, 35mm film, 35mm SLR. On the back, I've just got the viewfinder and the film back. On the bottom, we've got the button for rewinding at the end of the film, tripod bush, battery compartment. This camera takes the old Mercury batteries, the 1.35 volt batteries. I've currently got our wean cell in there at the moment, so I've been checking out to see whether the metering works. On the front of the camera, flash sync port, lugs for the carrying straps. There's no stop down lever, anything like that. This chooses the flash mode. I imagine that's self timer actually, a bit like a. Let's try that. Oh, no, actually. Oh, it is a self timer. So the self timer is a bit like a rolly. In that case, you've got the X and the M for the flash synchronization, so the shutter fires immediately. If I put it on the V setting, just wait and wait and wait and wait, and there it goes. Yeah, so that's your self timer, rather than the more common lever on this side. And if we look at the top of the lens, this is where sort of everything seems to be going on. Here we've got a shutter speed dial. So shutter speeds from B through to a 500th, which is normal for a leaf shutter. There's no thousand on this one. And then here we have an aperture ring, and again there's a lug on this. As you notice, it goes to auto, because this camera is a shutter preferred or shutter priority camera. So you choose the shutter speed, it will choose and select the aperture, or you can use it manually as well. Obviously a focus ring here down to 0.6 of a metre, so that's about 0.6 of a metre, 2 feet, something like that. Yeah, it says there 2 feet. Depth of field scale, and I guess that's an infrared mark as well. Okay, and round here we have an ASA dial. We use ISO today, and the way this works is that you set the ASA or ISO to the fastest aperture of the lens. So this lens is a 50mm f2, and these are called UV top cores. It's a UV mount. There's very few lenses that fit on these. I've got some in the background now. So yeah, you set your speed to the aperture of the lens, whether it's a 2, 2.8, 4 or 5.6. And on this side there's a DIN, so you can see 27 DIN is 400 ASA or 400 ISO. And then to remove the lens, you click this in, and rather unusually, all this bit gets left behind. So it's a rather strange mount. Seems to me it was an awful lot of effort to put in a leaf shutter for not an awful lot of benefit, I don't think. As we all know, the advantage of a leaf shutter is that it can flash sync at every speed. But you can see it's a bit like a Hasselblad in the way that it works, in that it's got a sort of secondary curtain in the back here that keeps the film protected when you're changing lenses. See the back of the mirror there. So when you press the shutter, the lens, the shutter in here, sorry, when you press the shutter release button, the leaf shutter closes, the mirror pops up, the leaf shutter fires, the mirror comes back down, and then the shutter opens again. So there's quite a lot going on. So there you can see the leaf shutter quite clearly. Quite clever. But an awful lot of engineering for something that's tied into its own particular lens system. I've got some lenses here. This, like I say, is a 50mm. This one is 100mm f4. So you'd have to change your film speed when you change your lenses. It's a bit of an anachronistic system, I think. This is a 35 3.5, so presumably that's what that other dot is for on the camera body. You can see there's another dot just before the 4, so I'm assuming that's for this lens. Topcon are still around. They don't make cameras anymore, they make theodolites, they make surveying equipment. They're very well regarded for their lenses, and the camera that everybody wants from Topcon and wants really collectible is the Super DM, which is a full-on system camera with motor drives and interchangeable finders and everything. Following this in '73, they came out with the IC Auto, which is more conventional and has a focal plane shutter. And of course, a focal plane shutter, if it's horizontal, normally only syncs at a 60th. If it's vertical, it will sync up to about 125. All we see in the viewfinder is a scale that a needle travels across to show as a selected aperture. So this is what I'm going to be using this week. And I don't really want a 50mm lens on there, I want to put the 35 on there. So again, red dot to red dot, and there you go. Right, let's load it with some film and get ready to do some shooting. Right, that's where you can see it. Loads much like any other 35mm SLR. It doesn't have the totally removable back. You can see there's the pressure plate, etc. I've got a roll of a film I'm trying out at the moment. This is Pan 400 from Kentmere, which is a brand owned by Harman, so it's part of the Ilford family, so I'm assuming it's very similar to HP5 Plus. I think it's slightly cheaper than HP5. So we need to make sure that the film is rewound in so we know that it's being advanced. And we just lead it across over the sprockets, and this take-up spool is fairly well slotted, to be fair. Fire the shutter, wind it on. So that's looking okay. Close the back. I don't know whether this leaks the light seals and it don't look particularly good. They could do with replacing. But what I'll do is I'll shoot the first 5 frames as it is, and then I'll put some black tape across here and across here so that I can then see when I develop the film whether the camera has any actual light leaks at the moment. But like I say, it is due to have the light seals replaced. Nice 35mm lens, which is nice and wide. And yep, the meter seems to be working, so that's quite good. So yeah, there we go. Comes with a really nice case as well, which, yeah, I treated it with a neat's foot oil just to keep it looking nice. It's unusual, this one, in that it's black. I've not really come across very many black Unirexes before now. But yeah, it's quite an attractive camera, and the case is in really good condition actually. So the quality camera is quite heavy, just they're a bit unusual. The only lenses that came with it was quite a limited range. That's a 35. There was a 28. That's a 100mm lens, that one. This I think is a 135. Yeah, 135 f4, so not exactly outstanding there really, and this is the standard 50mm. I also have a 53mm f2 standard lens as well that came with another camera, another UV camera. There is a 200, and I think there is an 85 as well. But yeah, that is the Topcon Unirex. An interesting camera, a leaf shuttered SLR. Like I say, to me it seems to be an awful lot of effort to put a leaf shutter in something really. And obviously being tied into these lenses is a bit of a major disadvantage. But we'll shoot it this week and see what sort of results we get. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this interesting, and I hope to see you in the next one.